It came from Melrose, Bobby Gonzalez.
By the way, Michelle, one point. When the Mets first came to New York City, the first 2 years they played in the Polo Grounds.
They did?
They did!
Every day.
And my father took me and my brother to the Polo Grounds, and center field was about 500 feet away. I'm not making this up. We sat in the bleachers, and when the batter hit the ball, we didn't hear the sound of the ball hitting the bat until it was halfway to first base. All right? Then what a day, 62-3.
And they lost.
You lovable losers. So anyway, I have lived in the Bronx more than 60 years. Woo! Can't get more Bronx than that. But thank you. I grew up in Melrose, and I grew up in a poor neighborhood.
How was it?
Thank you. It was so poor, I'm not making this up. In my neighborhood, they opened up a 99-cent store, and they put a sign in the window, "We accept layaway." Whoa! Reaganomics, okay? And I grew up in the Melrose projects. Did any of you ever grew up in the projects? Yes. Oh, yes. Now, the Melrose houses were in Tawkin between 153rd and 156th Street, between Morris and Cortlandt Avenue. Now, when my folks moved in there, I was 6 months old, in early 1952, the place wasn't even finished yet. But we knew we were in a different world, because we grew up, my first life was in Harlem, in a barrio. But here in the Bronx, now the Melrose houses, this is 52, 700 was whites only. This is a whole new experience for my family. And then we had to learn how to navigate through which neighborhood we could or not walk through. Now on Morris Avenue were the Italians. And we had to fight to get in there and fight to get out. Now my Irish buddies told me that they were afraid to walk past 153rd Street. All right? And back then, another way the Bronx was separated was the parish that you belonged to. All right? And that was defined by your ethnic background. So the Italians had Our Lady of Pity on 150th Street and Morris. Now, the Immaculate Conception on 150th in Melrose was funded by Germans, but then the Irish took over. I went to St. Adalbert School and Church on 155th, and Melrose and Elton, and they were run by Polish nuns. Now, every year they made us march in the Pulaski Day Parade. So imagine all these mostly brown and black kids with the Polish flag, with the colors, march the parade. And they tried to teach us Polish, and it went well. Does anyone here speak Polish? Okay. So they would teach us mother, father, and then the word aunt came. And we would break out laughing. And we're on TV, edit this out. The Polish word for aunt is ciocia. And I'm very proud of the Melrose houses. We produce a lot of great people. I learned recently from 700 came J.J. Walker. He used to start Good Times. Mr. Dynamite, he came from Melrose. From 320 came Pablo Guzman, who helped found the Young Lords Party. And he's won a couple of Emmys for his TV journalism. And another great product of the Melrose House is sitting right here in the back. He's a great, internationally known musician and educator and band leader, Mr. Bobby Sanabria. He came from 681.
God bless them Polish.
PG-13. Now in 320, a couple of years ago, they produced another wonder. the right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he wears a Super Bowl ring on his hand, is Woody Cologne Jr. Nowadays he's a musician. And he came from 320. All right, another Melville boy. So I've had a number of jobs in the neighborhood, and one job I had was at the post office on the 28th and Grand Concourse. And this was back in the day, so I used to work on this machine called the ZMT machine, the process the mail. And my supervisor said, "Hey, you like that machine?" He said, "Yeah, I loved it. I like the feel of it." He says, "That's the machine that Senator Sam used." Oops. And another job I had was, I worked as a medical records clerk at Morrisania Hospital, 167th Street in Jerome Avenue. Now, I was looking for a sign, but they told me it's down in the basement, a sign about a nightclub called the Pepper and Salt, which was an after hours in Morrisania, right? And in Morrisania Hospital, I worked from the midnight to 8 shift. And everybody to stay awake was down to the eyeballs, including the doctors. And it was hard to find a quiet place. So one of the guys one night says, "I want to have my lunch at 3 in the morning in a nice quiet place where I won't be disturbed." And what's the most quiet place in the hospital? The morgue. Bad move. So he goes down to the morgue, it's his wife, nobody say no word. And he's got a sandwich there, he unwraps the paper, he's ready to bite into a sandwich, and then it happens. A body sits up. Alright? And you know what my man did, right? Dropped the sandwich and ran like hell. Now in those days there were no cell phones. He ran from 167th Street in Jerome Avenue all the way to Yankee Stadium. He got the phone and he called his boss and said, "Mail me my check. I ain't going back there no more." And the Melrose houses, wow. 1977 was an important year for us for 2 different reasons. First was the blackout. This was in July. It was about 2 days. Now, my family had a bodega, which was called Freddie's store. Freddie's sitting right here. All right? Hey, Freddie. Woo! And the lights went out. No power. What do? We got all the ice cream, all the dairy products, the meats. So what Freddie did was he turned the car around, turned the lights, and pointed it at the store. So we broke night, you know, selling candles, matches, whatever we could that night. Now, all throughout the city, there was a blackout. Some people, unfortunately, took advantage of the situation, right? So in our neighborhood, there was a big shopping area, which we called like that set out Third Avenue. Couldn't do anything. We were afraid to say, "You have to wait for orders from City Hall." They got the order. And the cops broke into the sporting goods stores and took out the baseball bats. So the next morning, when we saw anybody all bandaged up, we know what happened. And the day after the blackout, a big panel truck pulls up in front of the store. And a guy comes out and comes in and tells us, "Who wants to buy a grand piano?" All right? Yeah, the blackout. What also happened in 1977, the second game of the World Series. And the whole world saw the neighborhood of the Melrose houses on TV. And Howard Cosell said those words that are still haunt us today. He said, "The Bronx is burning." And what it was is, PS3 was on fire. What he didn't tell them was, PS3 had been abandoned for a number of years. And actually, whoever torched that building had saved the city a lot of money. All right? It was gone anyway. What's the PS29? I forget. So I go back. Oh, by the way, Yankee Stadium, right? One day my father took me to Yankee Stadium. He said, "I want the best seat in the house for my son, right behind home plate." And the man said, "Hey, that's $3.50. He said, "I don't care." I think that costs you about $1,000 now, right? Oh, God. So I go back today, and the Melrose houses in that area still has their challenges, but there are glimmers of hope. A couple blocks down, we have the Bronx Documentary Center, okay, 150th Street in Cortland. Over, we have also Community College and the theater, so the arts are blossoming, and education. We have Pregones Theater. And I see all this influx of immigrants coming to our area in the South Bronx where I grew up. I see people from the Near East, the Far East. I see people from Africa and all parts of Latin America. And I see these people and I see the new blood, the new ideas, and the fresh energies that they're bringing to our community. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future. You know, you may not be aware, but the Southwest has had a great influence on the world in music, in the arts, in literature, and that's why I'm very proud to say I am a native of the South Bronx.